Alright, here's just a little video on how I display my handheld games. At one point I just had these sitting in a bin somewhere and I was thinking, what's the point in having these if they're not easily accessible? And it would be cool to display them in my game room. So what I did was I got 3 floating shelves. I think I got them online at Home Depot or something years ago. They're 3 feet wide and 5 inches deep. And on top of these shelves, I got these clear acrylic stands from Rose Colored Gaming. And the nice thing about these is they're labeled by system, and they fit them nicely. I also bought this aluminum sign. I got it from Amazon. It's customizable, so you can get it to say whatever you want. So obviously I had it say Handhelds. It's about 18 inches wide. The top shelf is the Game Boy family of games. And on top of that shelf, I have the original Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance SP, and the Game Boy Micro. The second shelf has the Atari handheld games. I've got the original Lynx from 1989, and then I have the revision Lynx II, and then I have kind of a modern retro Atari handheld. And then my third shelf has a combination of different systems. I start with the Turbo Express, and then I have the Sega Game Gear, and then after that I have the Sega Nomad, and then finally I ended up with the Neo Geo Pocket Color. I'll go through each of these in a little bit more detail. This is the original Game Boy, made in 1989. It takes 4 AA batteries, and we've got the game Tetris playing. You can see the very right side of the screen is a little bit off there. Something probably needs to be fixed on it. The next one was the Game Boy Pocket, made in 1996, so a full 7 years after the original one. It takes 2 AAA batteries, and you can see it's playing Tecmo Bowl, and it's got more of a black and white screen than the kind of greenish one from the original. Next up is the Game Boy Color, made in 1998. It takes 2 AA batteries. It's backwards compatible to the original Game Boy, and right now you're seeing Game & Watch 2 as the game being played. Next up we have Game Boy Advance, and this was made in 2001. It takes 2 AA batteries. It is backwards compatible with the Game Boy Color and the original Game Boy, and you can see the Mario Kart game being played. This is the Game Boy Advance SP, made in 2003. It has a fold-up screen. Also, it has a rechargeable battery that you charge with a wall plug, and depending on the model, you might have a front-lit or backlit screen. And right now you can see the game Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga. Next up is the Game Boy Micro. It was made in 2005, which was a year after the Nintendo DS was introduced. It has a rechargeable battery, it has a backlit screen, and it is not backwards compatible with the Game Boy Color or the original Game Boy. It just plays Game Boy Advance games. Next up is the Atari Links, made in 1989, which was the same year as the original Game Boy. This takes 6 AA batteries. It has a color display, and right now we've got the game Joust inside. Next is the Lynx II, which was a redesign made in 1991. It takes 6 AA batteries, and it is more of a plastic, not so much a metal design compared to the first one, a little bit sleeker. Supposedly it's got a better battery life. And right now you can see the game California Games, although you notice that my screen on the left side is a little bit messed up, so obviously something needs to be fixed on this one. The last Atari one I've got is the Atari Retro handheld console, which was made in 2019 by Blaze, which was sold outside of the United States. It takes 4 AAA batteries. There are 2 versions of it. The better one has a micro SD card slot, so you could load more games. It plays mostly 2600 games, but it does do some 7800 games. Right now you can see Asteroids. Now the United States had the Atari Flashback Portable, but I kind of like the design of the Blaze one better. It looks more retro, it looks more like the original Atari. The Atari Flashback Portable on the US, it kind of just looks plain. Doesn't really have the Atari logo on it or anything like that. So that's why I chose to display the Blaze version. Next is the NEC Turbo Express, which was made in 1990. It takes 6 AA batteries. It's basically a portable TurboGrafx 16 console, so you can actually take the console games and put them in this. And right now we've got blazing lasers inside. Next is the Sega Game Gear, made in 1991. It takes 6 AA batteries, and you can see that it's got Sonic the Hedgehog 2 inside this one. Alright, and next we've got the Sega Nomad, made in 1995. You do need a separate battery pack or an AC adapter to get this to work. It's basically a portable Sega Genesis. I actually got the screen redone on this one, that's why it looks so clear. And you can see the game Golden Axe being played in this one. And finally, we've got the SNK Neo Geo Pocket Color, made in 1999. It takes 2 AA batteries, plus it does take a coin battery to save menu settings. That's why the light is flashing there, because I don't have a coin battery in there. It's playing Metal Slug right now. And one thing I love about this is I love the feel of the 8-direction micro switch direction pad. It's just, it's so satisfying to move it around. So that's how I display my collection. Obviously there's a lot more handhelds out there, but I just kind of got it down to the ones that I like, and I display them using these little stands and on these floating shelves. So hope you enjoyed. Hope maybe it gave you some ideas in case you were thinking about doing this. Feel free to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.